Education Minister Adamu don knack Ogbonge salute for Obaseki over basic education technology. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki don talk again on the need to pay serious attention to the development of basic education, urge the federal government to take correct and urgent steps wey go reduce the large number of out-of-school children for the country. Obaseki gives this charge when he received the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, the management of Universal Basic Education Commission, and the chairman of State Universal Basic Education Boards, SUBEB, who come for visit for Government House, Benin City. The governor, who expressed worry over the rising number of out-of-school children for Nigeria, called on President Muhammadu Buhari make his scatter Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, if he failed to return 50% of the children back enter school.
We say we have 50 or so million children under age under our care. And we say over 10 million of them are not in school. I mean, in any clime, you will ask, therefore, what is our justification as an entity? What is our reason for existence if we have this kind of problem? So for me, I'm saying, look, Mr. President, if UBEC and SUBEB cannot get 50% of these children back to school in the next 2-3 years, disband them. There's no basis for it. Because first, two things. First, if we do not focus on basic education and make sure we get quality into our basic education system, what we're having as banditry today and the kind of things will be a joke in another 10-20 years' time. For us in Edo, we had no choice because you found children leaving school, supposedly graduating from secondary school, who will, maybe they were babas or something, they will sell what they have because somebody has told them that there's work in Europe. They will sell, enter transport from Benin. They take them to Kano. Then from Kano, they take them and they are going to Libya. At one point in time, we had about 30,000 young men and women from Edo State in Libya, waiting to cross to Europe. I'm saying, if they had education, they could think, they could read and write, they would ask more questions before deciding to take those hazardous trips. So you can imagine if we had 30,000 there in Libya, how many would have died in their crossing? And what was the problem? Because they were not properly educated. They just didn't have the education, even though they had gone through the system. So for us, that was a wake-up call. So for my brothers in the Northeast, now in the Northwest, with the rising wave of banditry, I think the wake-up call is let's take these children and bring them to school and get them to learn. In Edo, over the last 4 or 5 years, on my dashboard, I can see the almost 275,000 children in our public schools. Parents are now moving their children from private schools into our public schools.
As Obaseki they talk the administration efforts to improve basic education for the state, he note say the structure of SUBEB, where they meet no work. Now he make am comot everybody wey dey before, recruit and train fresh ones into the system.
We had a workshop where we laid out our strategy and plans to reform our educational system. And he highlighted at that event the need for us to focus on basic education and put in almost all our resources, as much resources as we can in basic education. After he left, I think for me, he didn't understand the impression he made. And I came to the conclusion that if we have 100 naira to spend on education, which percentage did I say? I said 60 naira out of that 100 must be on basic education. That's what led us to the transformation. But let me just sidetrack a bit and let's tell you that, we're all politicians. But I will be the first to say that what we politicians have done to basic education, UBEC and SUBEB, has been a disservice to the country. Yes, teachers were helpful in the political process, initially in the 70s, 80s, but we haven't made the transition we should make using the resources we have with our teachers. So what was the Edo miracle in basic education? First is to tell ourselves the truth, that the structure of UBEC, of the SUBEB we met, was not working. So I had to post everybody I met out of SUBEB, everybody, and recruited afresh from the system. Because sometimes it's very hard to change a system that is broken from within.
Earlier, the Minister, Basic and Secondary Education Director, Dr. Folake Olatunji David, talks to them choose Edo as the destination for their quarterly meeting because of the technology for Edo.
This meeting is a quarterly meeting of all SUBEB chairpersons with the UBEC management. It's a quarterly one. The last one was held in 2020. But because of the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, it was put on hold. There was no physical meeting until now. And it's not by any coincidence that Edo State is hosting, bearing in mind the stride and commendable steps your state has been taking in the field of education. So we are here to enjoy the hospitality and the warmth of the good people of Edo State. And to deliberate, we are looking at enhancing access, equity, and standard basic education through technology-driven initiatives. And we know you just hosted the annual convention of Alagodaro, which is a great initiative, and I'm sure it's technologically driven.
This na the Ogbonge informate what TMC News carry come give una. From Benin, Osatuame Ogbeide.